The human imagination is infinite intelligence at work. Hi, I'm Rev Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Yesterday I told you to pray in the midst of this catastrophic time we're living in. I urged you to envision the life you wanted as you prayed. Today I want to expand upon that instruction for you to envision the life you want. In 1941, a man named Neville Goddard published a book entitled Your Faith is Your Fortune. Now, in his book, he made the assertion that the human imagination is God. We use the term infinite intelligence, but the meaning is the same. Neville Goddard was a highly respected metaphysician who emerged from obscurity into the public spotlight around 1937. He was born in Barbados and became a professional dancer in New York City on the Broadway stage. Now, even though he was making a good living as a dancer, he found himself drawn to explore spiritual teachings. He met an Ethiopian rabbi named Abdullah, and Abdullah told Neville upon meeting him, "Neville, you are 6 months late," which totally shocked him. Abdullah took him under his wing, and for the next 5 years, Abdullah trained him extensively in the Kabbalah, Hebrew, metaphysics. And then Neville published his first book in 1939 called At Your Command. Now, Neville taught that imagination is a direct expression of the creative power of infinite intelligence and can therefore be used by us humans to co-create our own reality. It was a highly controversial concept when it was publicized back in the 1940s, and it actually remains a controversial concept today. His writings have influenced many teachers, including the very popular speaker and author Wayne Dyer. He also influenced Rhonda Byrd, who was the creator and producer of the film called The Secret. I'm sure you remember that. That caused a lot of upset. His philosophy serves as the basis of the teachings of a man named Reverend Ike. Reverend Ike was an African-American evangelist who became famous in the 1970s. Neville's work is considered a form of New Age theology and is categorized with such teachings as Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, Shakti Gawain, who wrote Creative Visualization, and any number of other prosperity-focused teachings. But upon further examination, if you look at Neville's work, you can find that there are differences in Neville's teachings and those other teachings. First of all, Neville is not focused on money. Secondly, Neville's work is more heavily oriented towards involving the sensory experience when using the imagination to effect change. Please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I'd love to hear from you regarding your thoughts or comments or questions about infinite intelligence or any other subject for that matter, and how infinite intelligence has affected your life. So please use the chat box or the comments section below the video here. Okay. So Neville's teachings hold the position that all things that exist in our physical reality outside of nature were initially created in the imagination. Nothing has been built in our world before it was in somebody's imagination. It didn't just spring forth out of nothing. Somebody first had to imagine it. Then they had to take that imaginary creation and translate it into concrete plans before it could become a reality. But imagination was the originator, and imagination is infinite intelligence at work. Then Neville takes an additional step. He states that imagination is not only the originator of those things created and built by humans, but that situations and circumstances in our lives are also strongly influenced by our imaginations. So the So the application of imagination is most powerful. However, it is most powerful when contained within sensory enhancement. In other words, if you can see it, feel it, smell it as part of your imaginary creation, then it is much more likely to become real. This is demonstrably different from the power of positive thinking, which does not, excuse me, which does not involve visualization. And even the act of visualizing, which is putting it on your mental screen so you can see the movie, it often places because it's placing it on a mental screen like a movie, the visualizer actually becomes an observer rather than a participant in the experience. So according to Neville, if you really want to change something in your life, for example, if you want a better job, you must go into a quiet state of mind. Remember, that's how we do it in prayer. Go into a quiet state, and then imagine yourself in the kind of job you want to have. Don't just picture yourself there. Feel yourself there. In your mind, hear yourself talking to your coworkers and their responses. Feel yourself executing the duties of the job. If it involves working with tools, then feel yourself working with the tools as you imagine it. If it involves creating plans, then feel yourself working with the keyboard and moving the papers or doing whatever it is you need to do with the papers. If it involves meeting people like you're in a sales job or something, feel yourself shaking their hands. Actually experience shaking their hands in your mind and greeting them and them responding to you. Imagine in your mind what the air might smell like around you. Imagine what other sounds there might be in the environment. Neville's teachings insist that if you do this enough, if you do the sensory thing as well as the imagining, the visual, you will eventually find yourself in the reality of that situation, because infinite intelligence is creating that in that situation, that reality for you while you're imagining it. In essence, by employing your imagination in this most powerful way, you are actually time traveling. That's right. You're traveling into the future and putting yourself into that circumstance or situation that infinite intelligence is creating for you. Now, the criticism I've often heard regarding this is that someone feels like all they have to do is imagine themselves with $1 million and poof, there it is. Fortunately, it's not that simple. I say fortunately because we've actually seen too many people who became millionaires by winning the lottery who were not ready for it. So they ended up losing it and also losing everything they had and ending up in worse shape than when they started out, when they won it. Now, as I see it, the value in Neville's approach is that it involves a conditioning process. What I mean by that is by involving all the senses into the imagination process, the brain and the body undergo changes as they get ready for the event to happen. They're changing in preparation for the actual event. Your brain is very fluid, very fluid. You are also being tested in the process because because it does not happen instantly, there's a time element involved. So over that time period, it takes for it to actually happen. You might change your mind. You may become frustrated and give up. You might get distracted by another shiny object. So the end result is that it's probably something you were not committed to. But if you were committed to it, you will hang in there and do the work, and it will happen. Please click on the thumbs up button. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear from you. Your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, your questions about infinite intelligence and how it has affected your life. Now, excuse me. Another important aspect of Neville's method is that you do not involve yourself in imagining how it's going to happen, how you're going to get to that place where you're imagining yourself being, where you want to end up. He actually in his work, he added another meaning to the phrase found in the book of Revelation, I am the Alpha and the Omega. The Alpha is the imagination that you use to create the event in your mind and body. The Omega is the actualization of that event when it becomes physical reality. But in between those two is the space where infinite intelligence works. And what happens in that space is not only unknown to us, it's unknowable to us. It's strictly the purview of infinite intelligence, and we need to leave it alone because we're not allowed there. Allow infinite intelligence to do its work. Imagination on this end, actualization on that other. That's how it works. What happens in the middle is God doing his work. So let's look at some examples a couple of examples that Neville gave us in showing how it works. He had numerous examples in his work, in his books, and in his tapes, because he did a lot of training across the nation, and he allowed people to record his sessions. So there's a lot of stuff that he's done on the internet. Anyway, one of the examples he spoke of was about his brother. His brother and his father worked in a small business in Barbados, and he wanted to expand into a bigger one. And he had a building that he had in mind. So every day on his way to work, he would stop at this building for a moment, and he would envision the sign on the building being the name of his and his father's business, his family's business. And he would envision himself working in that building, going into the building to conduct his building or his business, working inside the building, okay? And he would do that a few minutes every day, going to work and coming home from work. He would envision it, take minutes out and envision it, focusing on it, and envision that happening. It took 2.5 years. But one day the building came up for sale. The problem was he didn't have the money to buy the building. But then he was approached by a man who said, I've been watching you and your father and your business, and I'm very impressed with the way you run your business. So here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to give you the money or to buy that building, or I'm willing to invest in your business, for the money to buy that building and so you can expand your business. So that's what happened. They got the money, they expanded the business just as he had imagined it. His imagination had become reality. A few years later, they were able to buy out that investor. Another example that Neville gives us, it was an African-American man in L.A. He was on the verge of bankruptcy, but he spent the last of his money to come and see Neville to take advantage of what he had heard about Neville. He wanted to get into the upscale real estate business. He had been at the lowest end of the real estate business, but he wanted to move up. Well, he talked to Neville and began working with Neville's process. Soon he was attracting more opportunities to sell small, lower-cost properties and be able to feed his family. But even though as a black man he was restricted to selling small properties, with each one he sold, he imagined it being a large, high-priced piece of property. And he imagined that each one of his clients was rich and influential. Imagination. He imagined it intensely every time he sold something. And then after 2 years of intense imagining, the man he sold a property to was very influential. And that man was so impressed with the way he handled his business that he began to refer him to more affluent clients. And next thing he knew, he was involved in the high end of real estate. He was involved making the big sales, the multi-million-dollar sales. And before long, he became a millionaire. Actually, before I became acquainted with Neville's writings, I was unknowingly practicing his teachings in my own life experience. I didn't know that I was using his methods, but I can remember instances in my life when I felt like I was in the middle of a deja vu experience because I'd already been there. And at other times I can remember having a dream and then suddenly that dream came true. Later, when I began to explore Neville's works, it all began to make sense. So yesterday, I told you to pray in the midst of these catastrophic times. I told you that to get quiet, as we do when we pray, get quiet, go to that quiet place, and envision the life you want as you prayed. So again, I urge you to pray morning, noon, and night. And as you pray in that quiet place, express gratitude at all you receive, including the air you breathe. And while you pray, invoke your imagination to put yourself in the life you want to live. See yourself there in the middle of that life. Be there, not looking from a distance. Be in the middle of it. Feel yourself in it. Hear it around you. Hear the people that you're talking to. Smell it as if you're really there, the perfumes or the flowers or whatever. And for those few minutes, cut out everything in the present. Cut out all the darkness in the present. Allow yourself to be in that place as completely as you possibly can. And express gratitude, wondrous gratitude that you're receiving it right here, right now. Right here, right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you are a spiritual warrior. So lift yourself to your highest expression. You are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. You are. And you can discover the teachings of the truth of the teachings of Neville Goddard by using the power of your imagination. Because as he tells us, the human imagination is truly infinite intelligence at work. Let us close with prayer. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing us all together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work that we have come here to do. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds, we open our hearts to the truth of our being. We are the individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. We are the children of God. And because we are part of the greater whole, we are beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more each day. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise. We will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain that we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, experiences, comments, whatever, regarding infinite intelligence or any other thing for that matter. Please use the chat box or the comment section below this video. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching me. I am Rev Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.